Hello, and welcome to another episode of me working on a truck. If you are just tuning in, thank you. If you're coming back, you already know this, but I am pulling this engine by means of pulling the cab up and taking the engine from the frame from this 2001 Duramax powered Chevy truck. I have another one that needs this engine, and I'm going to rob the fuel system while I'm at it. I have pulled most all of the plumbing and wiring that connect the engine to the truck body, and I have left. I'm going to take loose the power steering lines and drain that system into a catch can that I have down below. Next, I will be running around taking body bolts from the front end here up by the radiator support, and then all of the cab body bolts like that one right there, and the rest that are holding the cab down. I do know that those are going to come out very easy because this had running boards, and they popped loose with my little Milwaukee impact just fine when we were grabbing this truck in Texas. So please grab a refreshment or some popcorn or a sandwich and follow along. Another one of those dumb moves. If you figured it out in that little time lapse, I was working on that front body bolt for a really long time, and then I realized there's a nut underneath. So take a look at these body bolts. This truck is a 2001. Now, if you're from down south or maybe out west where they don't use salt, these probably just look like normal body bolts. But if you're anywhere in the Rust Belt, that job I just did would have taken days, if not weeks, to actually get the bolts out. Our method of removal is to use a torch and then figure out something later. This is just unbelievable, and another example of why I went so far for such a clean truck. So I still need to remove the emergency brake cable. Look at those rockers. They might have some dirt on them from travel, but they're actually there. I have to disconnect the transmission shifter and this park brake, and then I'm going to start maybe trying to lift up the body a little bit and see if there's anything else holding on. I really don't think there's anything left. So this is the little pigtail of the parking brake. Okay, and it's got this little nub on the end, and here is the other end, and it just slides together. It's I wouldn't say a press fit, I wouldn't say a slip fit. What I ended up doing was taking a pair of vice grips and clamping it here and resting the vice grips here on the lift, and then taking a punch and just tapping it down. But it worked pretty well. So I just disconnected that clip right there holding the main harness in to the body, and did a little once over. The shifter cable has been disconnected, and I think it's time to set the frame down and reposition these arms and lift this thing up. So I have my arms moved. They are under the pinch seams of the rockers, and being that that cab is so long, I'm not too concerned with a little bit of weight up front. There's a whole lot more weight back there. So I'm going to lift it up very slowly and probably go like an inch or two at a time until I can see the separation. One wire, one ground wire, one little connection here or there could screw a lot of things up. So this is the time that I just take it slow and not hope for the best, but just pay attention. So a couple things. You probably saw me playing around with the front corner here, and I suspected that there had been some damage. I could see that there was some welding done on the frame when I took the bumper off. Wasn't sure how bad it was, and then I could see that there was a couple things bent like that. But this front fender is missing the tab for the core support. So this whole front end started just falling down as I was picking the body up. Okay, and that's one thing. Also, back to this harness clip over here, I'm going to see if there's a better way than pulling that whole entire harness out of the truck. I'm wondering if up here, if there's a connector for that back harness. I didn't think that that was actually going to come into the, let's see, where is it? Right there. I didn't think it was going to come into the fuse box. I don't know why. I probably just knew that, wasn't thinking. So that's holding the truck together. Otherwise, I'm starting to see gaps, and so there's the transmission down there. It is a lot darker now because I made it so I can actually close the hood. If I get to the point where I can lift it up, I want to be able to get this thing up to the ceiling. The shop ceiling is 12 feet high, so I would love to be able to have all that room between the frame sitting at ride height and the cab. So I'm a fan of LED shop lights, and I just put one up there that's that big, and you can probably tell how much light it's throwing out that way. So I'm pretty happy with that. Great news as far as my wire harness goes. I was able to disconnect it. So there was a power source on that stud right there, and then a blue wire connected right here, and then underneath, if you pull that away, this little tab is released, and then this can slide up, and then over here there's just a little tab to push back, and this whole top of the fuse box comes undone, and that blue and black connector there came apart, and this main red box, so like this corner of the fuse box would be for the rear tail lights and whatnot. So now that is disconnected, and I can continue to pick up the body and keep looking for anything else that might be holding on still. And that, my friends, is a Duramax engine inside a frame with no body on it. So, my plan is going to be remove that transmission and pull the engine in whatever fashion I want. This blue-green hose here is the fuel line from the air dog system, and this is really good news. Seeing this all bound up in the frame rail, that tells me that I will have enough fuel line to adapt this system to my longer wheelbase truck. So right now I couldn't be a whole lot happier. In the clip of this being pulled, I did not realize that the transmission had not been disconnected. I figured that was one of the main plugs when I disconnected the engine harness from the ECU, but it has its own separate harness, so that had to be removed, and all is well. So that wraps up this part of the series, and I am a happy dude.